Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Bhakti Community. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today, Bhakti On, where we continue our series, Boxing with the Mind. And today's topic is how to rise above worry and morosity. Stop drowning in your mind and start watching the river flow. With our speaker today, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. We have got around 10 members on Zoom. People are still dialing in. I have Premanish. I'm managing social media today. Good afternoon, Vaish. Welcome back to another episode of Bhakti On.
Thank you so much, Jam, for a beautiful and warm welcome. And welcome to everybody who's joined Bhakti On today. Bhakti comes from a root word in Sanskrit, which means budge. And some people have tried to translate that word into worship, but it goes deeper than that. It's the very nature of ourself to have unbounded gratitude for our original divine source. And it's in that the practices of bhakti begin to reawaken that sense of amazement at every second for our lives and for the source of our lives. And there are various practices. One of them is getting together like this and discussing what's called the state of the world and our position in it and the options that we have. So I'm really glad you're here. And thank you for, as JM said, dialing in. I like that we all dialed in. Somehow or other, we're able to do this. It's a miracle in and of itself. We never would imagine a few years ago, would we have, JM, that you could do something like this, sit and talk together from different places. Kautak is apparently driving a car, and we have Subhadra there sitting on the beach, virtual as it is, and so forth. So fantastic. Great to have you all here. Well, go ahead, Krishna Saka. You have that look on your face like you have a guest here you'd like to introduce. So
No, I'm sorry.
why'd you come here today? Start with asking a few of you who took the trouble to dial in. Why'd you come?
Personally, I really like the topic, so I joined for that.
What is the topic?
Don't like don't worry and get above the worries and
How to rise above worry and morosity.
yeah.
Morosity, by the way, is a word, and it means moroseness. I'm really glad you're here. Thank you. You always bring light to any assembly.
We have Vicky who has just raised. Please go ahead, Vicky. I do see a few of our members have come. So.
I just wanted to say that Hasti is joining us online, but she's been joining us in person at Mantra Zone on Friday evenings, and she even cooked for Mantra Zone a few times. So really happy to see her online. And Hasti, please feel free to say hello.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Asti. Thanks for coming.
Of course. I really miss the gathering. So sometimes something's happened to me. So I was very busy and I lost one of my best friends. So yeah, it was just hard time for me.
Yeah. Well, my heart goes out to you. I mean, not just to echo what you said for the sake of it, but I also just recently lost a really close friend, just very suddenly. And it affected me deeply, still affecting me. So I have empathy.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Hasti. Welcome to online.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do have David also joining us, I think, for the first time. David would like to say hi.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Is it really your first time on Bhakti On?
It is. I've been attending the Saturday morning japa, but this is my first time at the Bhakti On. Yeah.
Great to see you, David.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And for those of you who don't know, japa is a kind of meditation. It's a way of communing with the divine through repeating the divine names. And you repeat them over and over again, and we count how many we do. So the mind stays steady in reaching a goal of counting a certain number. Some people actually write it. I've seen in India. I'm not recommending it, and I'm not recommending it either. The process we've been taught, I've been taught, been passed down, is to repeat the names. It's mantra meditation. But I see people also that write the names. They'll sit there for hours and write over and over, and it focuses the mind. So yeah, fantastic. Glad you're here to join the conversation.
Anyone else here for the first time? Or if you brought your friend here for the first time, please say hi or introduce them.
Oh, hi. It's not my first time, but hi, it's good to see everyone.
Great to have you. Good to see you here. Thank you for coming.
Well, Hare Krishna.
Where are you dialing in from?
Sorry?
Where are you dialing in from?
Oh, I'm in San Francisco.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else here for the first time? Looks like rest are returnees. So yeah, we can get started.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main things, is to be a returnee. I never thought about being a returnee, but sadhana, of which we speak regularly here, is also related to, well, not grammatically or etymologically, but in concept. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses the word abhyasa. And abhyasa means to be a returnee. You find a practice and you keep returning to it. It's amazing too, because we're different at different phases of our life, even different phases of the day, we may be different. So the idea behind the practice of bhakti is to steadily engage in the basic practices each day. And if you can, at the same time, and if not, then at any time that you can do it. Don't let the sun rise and then set without abhyasa, a practice. Because even the tiniest movement in bhakti is permanent, and it's compounded, and you get to keep it. Yeah, sometimes somebody came up to me at the festival. I was at a festival over the weekend in Los Angeles, down at Venice Beach. It's a time when great pageantry and lots of service and meeting hundreds and thousands of people all in one day. And somebody came up to me and said, a few years ago, you told me, don't fail to do what you can do just because you can't do everything. And he said, that's kept me going the last few years. That's a good rule of thumb, because sometimes the mind, in a mood of perfectionism, says, unless I can do it perfectly, what's the use of doing anything? But that's not what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that even the tiniest effort put forward in the practice of bhakti, or this bhaj, to reawaken this deep sense of love and gratitude that's the nature of the soul. He said, is an eternal step. It's never taken back. It's recorded and counted. Everything counts. I like that, when everything counts. Do you? Yeah. Well, there's lots of things you can count, but the great teachers of bhakti say the best thing you can count is your bhakti practice. So you get to keep that, not just in this life, next life too. In fact, 6 of the exemplars of bhakti were called the Goswamis. There were 6 of them. And they wrote multiple books and songs about the practice of bhakti. So this is about 500 years ago, 550 years ago. And later, another author wrote about them and mentioned Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananati, and that they counted everything to show us what a steady practice looks like. And one of the things you can count is getting together in assemblies like this and discussing the philosophy of bhakti. So let's do that. But before we do, would you all like to do a little mantra meditation before we start? Adam's in. He pulled over his car just so he could do mantra meditation. At least I hope he did, because he got both hands off the wheel. Okay. And I know Kurt's here somewhere, maybe riding his bike. But he can do you can do mantra meditation when you're riding your bike too. And I got to meet Kurt. Hey.
I'm driving, so I'm
Oh,
listening.
okay. Got 4 wheels.
I'll meditate in spirit.
It was good to see you over the weekend.
Definitely. I wish I could
Got
have
to
hung
meet
out
Kurt
more.
face to face. Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Well, times to come.
definitely.
All right, so let's try this. This is a recommended practice, by the way. And we're going to do this together, because bhakti is a team sport. And JM will put up a mantra on the screen, Nitai Gauranga, and I'm going to chant it 5 times. So you want to prepare yourself, just sit up a little straighter than you were a second ago. And if you want to look at the screen, you can look at the mantra. It's spelled phonetically. It looks slightly different. And I'm going to try putting a drone on. And after this exercise, I want you to tell me if the drone helped or if it doesn't sound as sublime as it does for me here when it goes through my microphone. So Nitai Gauranga, you see the 2 avatars behind. Avatar means one who reaches down to pull us up. And there's 2 names, Nitai and Gauranga. So Nitai means the one who brings us into the eternal present of bhakti, and Gauranga is the one who empowers us to do so. It's by the beauty of his form and his teachings. So take a few regulated breaths and relax, and just bring yourself into the present moment. Don't worry about anything. I'll say the mantra, and then behind muted mics, if you like, you can repeat it out loud and just feel the vibration and listen to it. Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga And just notice how the vibration has entered your ears, into your mental system, into your heart. And bring your awareness back to your breath. And wiggle your fingers and toes. Open your eyes. And we're back. So element of a daily practice is to chant the transcendental mantra, of which this is one, simple one. I taught it to my father. He had Alzheimer's, and my mother and I discussed and thought it was a good idea if he practiced mantra meditation. So I tried the Hare Krishna mantra, which is a little lengthier. It's only 3 words, but it's still a little more difficult. And my father was able to do this regularly, so I'd sit with him and chant Nitai Gauranga. And I felt that it really brought him into the present moment and gave him some strength and clarity. What to speak of those who have the ability to do it when they're not ailing at all? You can enter very deeply within the vibration, which contains the form, the pastimes, the qualities of the Supreme. So, let's talk for a little while about the subject at hand. It's from an ongoing series of writings called Boxing with the Mind. I had this thought one day when I was chanting japa about how sometimes while I'm chanting, I'm engaged in a boxing match with my mind. And I don't know if any of you have ever felt like this, but sometimes the mind comes out on top. It can even knock us out. And we have to become really expert at defending and also find a way that we can knock some sense into our mind also. So there are many practices in bhakti. One of them, to prepare the mind, is called self-introspection. And this goes to this practice of discussing who we are, what is our existential position. So let's talk about it. You came here for a serious conversation, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this is a little serious, so here we go. Firstly, we didn't sign a lease for this body. At least I can't find mine anywhere. I even looked in the car, in the glove box. I didn't find a lease I signed when I came into this body that said, you can stay for such and such length of time. Did any of you get one? Maybe you find a document somewhere and you signed it with your little baby foot. And even the idea that we are leasing the body should say something about our situation in this world. Now remember, I remind you, this is a serious conversation. So it is a little serious. And minus a lease agreement, that means that at any time we can be asked to leave. We have no permanent right to stay in this body. That's a little sobering. In a good way, because it's reality. And reality is beautiful. And when we have a sense of who we really are and what our situation really is, then we can act in such a way that we really make progress in life. And sublimating the truth doesn't help. That's called ignorance, or as I like to pronounce it in such a context, ignorance. Ignorance of the truth doesn't help, does it? No. So, having this awareness, and then starting to accept that we'll have to leave the body that we're in now. Now one may consider this to be a taboo conversation or even a thought process. Why would you bring up such a morbid idea? Well, because it uplifts us. when we have a sense of the temporality of the body we're in, we may become much more appreciative of the time we have now. And we may make a clear plan for this life, what to do with it. Now, if you don't have an idea that there may be a clear plan and an objective to life, then one may then just try to forget about the fact that we have to leave the body or say it's inconsequential. But most people psychologically have cognitive dissonance when not confronting their own mortality. But those who do and have an awareness of it can become more genuine in their lives. You don't have to play the roles that you think you have to play or wear a mask. You can be who you are, and that is a soul traveling in a temporary body. But the great news is, according to Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita and the whole tradition of the Vedic culture, the human body is a very special vessel to take us to the other side. And that brings me to the next slide, which is a concept that's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is to trade in something temporary for something permanent. And if you have that business acumen to take the temporary thing you've been given as a lease or a loan and then invest it in such a way that you turn it into something permanent, not just permanent, but permanently sublime. That's the smartest thing anybody can do in the human form of life. In fact, one of the great sages, Narada, says that if you make all the right choices in this world, get the best grades and best job, do everything you can to take advantage of your material situation in this world, but you forget the other part, how to parlay yourself into sublimity after you leave this body, then he said you've missed the whole point. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, the advice is, take care of yourself. The body is very important, and the mind is important because they're vehicles to take us to the other side. Don't abuse them, don't neglect them, but also don't indulge them exclusively. Don't make that your main objective in life, is just to be comfortable or to maintain the body to the very end. Well, of course, we have to maintain the body to the very end by being healthy. Live a healthy life, says the Bhagavatam, but use your vitality to inquire and make spiritual advancement. That's the idea. It's a very balanced idea. So trade in this temporary existence that we have into something that's lasting and meaningful. So we already outlast the body. The body has a shelf life, right? Shelf life means something expires after a certain time. Do we have a shelf life? The body, I should say. Vicky says yes. She uses those emojis very adroitly. Anybody else? Okay. Body has a shelf life, but the Atma, or the soul, has no shelf life. And that's something you read in the Bhagavad Gita when you get to the second chapter. At the very beginning, Krishna says there's no shelf life for the soul. It never wears out. And when we identify with that aspect of our existence, that's who we really are. But when we think, I'm my car, I'm my house, I'm my sports team, I'm my political candidate I'm backing, it all changes, it all moves, it all goes downstream. And we're always in this perpetual state of worry that I'm going to lose what I have. Because we don't really have it. We're just considering this is mine and this is me. I identify with it so intensely. I invest my very self into it. But the Vedas say, look inwardly and find out who you really are permanently and identify with that. And when you're able to identify with who you really are and what your ultimate purpose is in life, then that sense of constant anxiety or dissonance dissipates. Little alliteration, 2 disses in a row. Does anybody want to make a trade in? Yeah, what if you got something like an ice cube and you were able to trade it in for something you can keep forever? I mean, our body's kind of like an ice cube because, you know, it's handed to you rather unceremoniously because you just pop out of the womb and then somebody smacks you once, so you start crying and start breathing, and then everyone says, come on, you can do it, stay alive. And then, you know, there you are. You have a tiny little lifespan. And I was thinking today about my compost bin, which I'm very dedicated to. I like to put everything possible in there that will break down within a reasonable amount of time. And when I go back to it, I see it's a whole universe in that box. There's all kinds of entities who have set up shop in there. There's spiders have little webs in the corner, and there's all kinds of the fruit flies, little vegans in there who have their, you know, festivals all day long and family life. And they have no idea. When I open the bin, there's all this light comes in, and they go, where am I? And that's kind of how we are. Their lifespan to me is minuscule. And just in the perspective of geological time or of higher beings, our lifespan is like that of a fruit fly. We're just here for a few days, actually. But you can trade that in. That's what the human body's for. It's meant to come to blooming consciousness. Human body is like a bud on the most beautiful tree that produces the most beautiful flowers. And with a little bhakti, which means budge, the sound vibration from the spiritual world, association with spiritually minded people, then it opens. And you realize I'm not part of this world. But that's just a byproduct. That's not the ultimate goal, just to realize you're not part of this world. That's kind of obvious anyway. It's in poems and songs of people who don't even practice bhakti. I mean, kind of everybody knows it, but where do we have an alternative? Where do you invest your awareness, and what do you do to actually experience that blooming sense in your heart? That's bhakti. Okay, so investigating a little further, we could talk about what keeps us in that constant state of absorption in that which we are not. For those who don't know this Sanskrit word, it can be very helpful. A lot of people have this name, Maya. In Sanskrit, it's pronounced with 2 long A's, so Maya. Literally, Maya means that which is not. So the world is not false, but it's temporary. And when we say false in the context of bhakti, we don't mean that it doesn't exist. We just mean that it's a constant state of transformation, so you can never really grab it. It's changing right before our eyes, like the ice cube melting. And where do we experience that the most? Within our minds. So in this slide, we've worked on an artistic depiction of what the mind's projecting on the screen that we're looking at. And we see this fellow walking down a nice lane, and then the myriad images that are popping up here, there, and everywhere. False pictures of the mind, the way you think things will go versus the way they do go. There's always a sense of expectation in this world, and it's usually different from what you expect. And sometimes the mind is described to be a movie screen. And how many of you have ever been to see a motion picture in a theater? Not at home on your phone, but in a actual theater. Okay, so experience. It's a good place people try to, escape from their normal daily life. You go in, sit on a cushy seat. Hopefully nobody spilled anything in the previous viewing. And you sit down, the lights go out, and then the screen is illuminated with imagery. And how many of you, now be honest now, have ever cried at a movie, in a movie theater? Let's see. Well, JM, okay. Yeah. I got to put my hand up. I cried once, or more than once, I'm sure. No. I can remember when it was. I don't know the year, but I do remember the movie. It was called Born Free. It's about these lions in the wild, and somehow they got captured or something. It wasn't a cartoon. It was a real movie, but I remember as a kid crying in that movie. And then when the lights come on, you realize, oh yeah, there was light on a screen. The impression may still be there in your heart, though, when you walk out. You still have that sense of loss or joy or humor. But it was a sleight of hand, in a way. What we call the will-o'-the-wisp. Does anybody know the terminology will-o'-the-wisp? Have you ever heard that before? Will-o'-the-wisp. I'm going to read it to you. Now, I'm just giving you a warning because it could blow your mind if I read this to you. So I'm not liable if I do blow your mind. Will-o'-the-wisp, a phosphorescent light seen hovering or floating at night over marshy ground, thought to result from the combustion of natural gases. It's called, in Latin, ignis fatuus, which means the combustion of natural gases that make a light. And in context, the meaning is a person or thing that is difficult or impossible to find, reach, or catch. And if you go more into it online, this is just from my cheap little dictionary on my computer, but there have been whole plays written about will-o'-the-wisp and characters who personify the will-o'-the-wisp. And generally, the will-o'-the-wisp, it misleads travelers at night. They're traveling along and they see some light and they take it to be safety. Maybe there's an inn they can take shelter of, but it takes them to a bog. They fall in, they're misled, they become lost. And so the imagery that comes into our mind, it's Maya, that which is not, it's a will-o'-the-wisp. It can attract us in a certain direction. And just as when we watch a movie and we become emotional, one way or another, or we're pulled into the storyline, we're also pulled into the storyline that our mind is projecting, or that is projected on our mind. And it ultimately has nothing to do with us. Just as the movie really has nothing to do with I was not in Africa, I was just watching it. I didn't lose a tiger cub. Tiger cub just died, and I showed it on the screen, and then I started crying. And the romance we see, and the violence, and so scary movies, disturbs your life airs, so you can't sleep for the next 3 weeks. All these are created by will-o'-the-wisp. So the mind also gives these pictures. They're combinations and permutations of imagery that we've taken in. It's all stored there, and it gets projected on the screen of the mind. And most of the time, the things we think will happen are just phantoms. And so we become quite tortured by our minds. It's an oppressive, the mind can be oppressive. And the body also cooperates with the mind. So here, Jam, let's come back in here, and I'll just try to make this point and how there's a loop between the mind. Everyone knows this. Mind and body are practically one thing. And that there's no real separation between the two. So let's say you think something bad's going to happen to you. You're worried, let's say. And then your body reacts. How might your body react when you're really worried about something? I'll take suggestions from our august assembly.
Very anxious.
What about physical symptoms? Anxiousness is in the mind, and then might it manifest in your gross physical body?
Vicky says
Thank you, Mary.
tensing up, and Mesa says rapid heartbeat. Mikla says rapid heartbeat, and Subhadra says tight chest. Adam says sick. We have Shiv who says headaches. Vijay, restless feeling. Sham Sundari, she's here too. Speech. Nulani says pins and needles in your legs and arms too. Sakala Subhaga, restlessness and headache. Pooja says indifference, staring blank.
How come you guys are so expert at this? We're all expert at it because it happens to us all the time. Practically throughout one day, our body goes through changes like this due to circumstances projected that we're reacting to, but there are circumstances created by our mind, and we see it, we react to it, and then what happens is the mind perceives the physical change in our body and then reconfirms that it's true. So you may be worried about something, and then you may hyperventilate, and then the mind then says, your body's out of whack. So that must mean this dangerous situation that you're conjuring is true. And so there's this vicious circle that goes on between the body and mind. That's why many people nowadays know this trick that yogis have known for years, and that is when your mind becomes turbulent like that and your body reacts, one of the ways to come back into a balanced position is to regulate your breath. So oftentimes the breath becomes unregulated when we're nervous or worried, but then when you regulate your breath again, very deliberately, then the mind calms down and so forth. So there's this integral relationship between the body and the mind. It's always going on. And we're kind of trapped in that from morning till night. And even in our dreams, we'll experience dreams. Have you ever kicked somebody when you were sleeping? I'm not the person next to you, but just even like you kicked in the air and then you woke up and all your sheets flew off or something like that because there was somebody chasing you. You wanted to, yeah, it's happened, right? So even when we're sleeping, the mind has these reactions. Okay, so where are we going with this? The next slide gives us some objectivity. We need objectivity. Objectify what's in the mind and step back from it a little bit. So worry and morosity are energies passing through your mind. And you think of a river. The river, you call it one thing, but it's actually not a stable entity. In fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says you can never step in the same river twice. You put your foot in it, and 2 seconds later, you put your foot back in, it's not the same river. is constantly changing. So the mind's like that. But when you step back from it and just observe that it's flowing and all these thoughts are coming through, this is called prajahati. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, prajahati, step back from your mind and notice the flow of these emotions and thoughts. Just see that they're your life situation, which is the next slide, but they're not your life. You are your life. You're the observer of these situations. That's your life situation you're looking at. But it's just a movie screen. It's just talking about the interaction of your senses and your body, which is just a loaner someone gave you, with the rest of the world, but you're separate from it. So let's go to the next slide, because this is very philosophical, and you say, yeah, right, Vaish, that sounds all nice and kind of philosophical, but how do I actually come to this position above the flow of the mind? Well, one is what we're talking about here, to learn how to step back and notice the flow that's going on in your mind. And that requires a little introspection to notice that you can place your attention wherever you wish. If you practice this regularly, especially when you're getting ready in the morning for your mantra meditation, you can take just a moment to be aware that you have the free will to point your attention wherever you wish. So I often start by sitting down, breathing for a few minutes, and then I'll put my attention to my right foot. And I'll just feel the sensation of my right foot and be there in that very moment, because that's all we can ever do, is be in that very moment. And I'll just notice my life is also in my foot, because there's this life energy coursing through my body. And then I'll notice that I can deliberately switch that to another part of my body, like, okay, now I'm moving to my left shoulder. Now I'm becoming conscious of my heart beating. And now I'm moving it to my right ear. Even now I'm doing it. And this is our free will. When we give that up and we just let our mind flow with the river, or go into the movie and we think, oh, I am this movie, I am the life situation, then we're carried away by it. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the asset of a self-realized person is this prajahati, the ability to objectify the machinations, the movements of the mind, and notice that that's just going on. That's not me. It's a river flowing by. And there's certain kinds of self-discipline that are recommended to get your mind into a steady state. One of those disciplines, or a set of them, Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, is to regulate your senses. Live a regulated life so that your senses aren't being overstimulated or understimulated. You want to have enough sleep, but not too much. Enough to eat, but not too. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. You also have to recreate yourself, or recreate, not too much and not too little. And then there are the pure bhakti disciplines. One of them I've already mentioned a few times, which is mantra meditation. Another one is reading, or hearing from somebody read or discuss this sambandha, or knowing our relationship with the world. You hear from books that give a transcendental vision of who we are and what the goal of life is. And then it clears the clouds. It helps us to fortify our intellect so that we can make a discrimination between What's the movie and what's my real life? And studying yourself, here we put it a hyphenated word, self-study. Notice yourself and the workings of your mind. And then finally, the essence of bhakti, a dedication to Ishvar. Ishvar means the ultimate controller of everything. And when we have an awareness, we cultivate that awareness that I'm not the Ishvar. If anybody is, then see me afterwards. So I want to ask you a few favors. But Ishvara means the controller of everything. And this concept is there throughout the yoga literatures. For instance, in the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali Muni, he gives this very complicated process of how to control the mind. You really do have to amend your whole lifestyle to get up the rungs of the ladder in Ashtanga. But he gives a shortcut after he's about 25% through the book, and he says, if you become aware of Ishvar, the fact that you're not the supreme controller and that there is a supreme controller, and as he says, if you bow your head to Ishvar, and in this mood, this is bhaj or bhakti, like appreciation, gratitude for the supreme controller, who, by the way, Krishna mentions also in the Bhagavad Gita as Param Atma. Like we're an Atma or a self, a unit of consciousness, but we're like a little spark compared to the original unlimited fire, which is the Paramatma who's conscious of everything, the triple O, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipotent. No, wait, I said two things at once, the same thing. Omniscient, omnipresent, what am I missing? For 20 points.
Omnipotent.
I said omnipotent. Omnipotent, omniscient.
Omnibenevolent.
Can you write it? I couldn't hear what you said, Kishori. Huh?
Omnibenevolent.
Well, I like that one too, but it's not part of the three. All-powerful is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient means you're aware of everything at all time. Omnipotent means you're all-powerful, and omnipresent. Thank you, Krishna Saka. Appreciate it. But I like Nritya Kishori said, all benevolent, and that's true too. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's our original source we come from is called Suhrit, is our best friend. So when you become aware of Suhrit or Ishvar as the overseer of everything you're doing and as being present in your heart, and awareness of the nature of Ishvar is that he's also aware of who you are. You don't have to wear a mask. You can be who you are because the Ishvar already knows everything about you. That sort of dedication to Ishvar, that brings us immediately above worry and morosity. It saves us from that river that is constantly pulling us down and away from our real interest in life. And now, show the next slide, JM. Because it's all about everybody on this. There we are in a circle, kind of. And time for reflections. Reflections to me are the best part because I made a presentation, you listened and participated, and now, what things are you taking away? JM, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No issues. There are a few on the chat which I just wanted to quickly read. One was Mesa says she's back third time. For the third time from Melbourne. And Vicky responded, go Melbourne. Adam said, I've seen it written in chalk on the sidewalk in Ashland, mantras.
Wait a minute, I didn't catch that one.
Adam said,
What
I've
about Ashland?
seen the mantra written in chalk on sidewalk in
Oh,
Ashland.
chalk.
Yeah.
Written in chalk on the sidewalk in Ashland. Who said that one?
Adam.
What mantra was it, Adam?
It's true. I've seen it.
You seen it? Well, I saw some in Los Angeles just over the weekend. Somebody was a very good graffiti artist, but was writing mantras everywhere. And in Scotland for a while, there were these marauders going around putting mantras everywhere, secretly. They would put huge banners up on bridge overpasses, and nobody could tell who was doing it for years. And in fact, those mantras became so popular that it became an industry, people selling merch that had those same mantras on it. It was Scotland, actually. Yeah, so I've seen that too. Thanks, Adam. We should go up to Ashland and check it out. Find out where those are.
He also said everything counts in small amounts.
Who's
Especially.
that? Everything counts in small amounts. That's a new one. Keep that one, Jam. We'll use that. Thank you. Everything counts even in small amounts.
And Lydia says she's on bike ride, but she's still listening in. And Subhadra, I like the droning sound.
I think Kurt started that tradition. He's been checking in on his bicycle every time. So now everyone's going to start doing it, Kurt. See what you started? Okay.
Sorry, what was the tradition?
Riding your bike while listening to the show.
It's a great idea. I highly recommend
Ligia's
it.
doing it today. She just wrote in and said she's riding her bike and listening to the show, and you started it, Kurt. This is
Awesome.
It's sweeping
Great.
the world now.
Hell yeah.
And she also knows how to text while riding a bike and listening to shows too.
Only Kurt can do that. Don't try it at home.
Definitely not. Trained professionals.
Go ahead, Jam. There's so many more.
Yeah. Subhadra likes the droning sound. That's really nice.
Oh, that's good. Good to know. Because Javi wrote me a few weeks ago when I used another drone, and he said, you know what that sounds? It sounds terrible. He's a musician, so his ears finely tuned, and that's why I switched to this one. I'm glad you like it. Thank you, Vicky.
And Adam says, I'm past due on lease payments.
Yeah. Well, you know, when the warranties run out, what can you do, right? So that's why to have these kind of metaphors to objectify our situation can be very helpful. For instance, like bodies like an Uber. You jump in an Uber, you don't think that it's yours to keep, otherwise you'll be arrested. Yes,
Mine just came online. Mine, did you have something to say?
It's the language of Zoom. If you turn your camera on, it means you might want to say something.
That was by mistake, but I'm so glad to be here. And thank you so much for arranging this session.
Well, now we want to see Nitai. Is he there? He's
at home.
Oh, you're in your office. Okay. Well, good to see you, Mayank. Thanks for tuning in.
Yasmin likes the visuals. Thank you. And then we have lots of responses to how the body reacts when things look to be going. And then we have Sakala Subhaga, who reflected, I've been reflecting on how if one lives for 100 years, that amounts to just about 5,217 weeks. When I started thinking in terms of weeks instead of years, time began to feel like it was passing much faster. Each week started to feel more precious, a brief yet meaningful part of a limited whole.
That's beautiful and really poetical, actually. Thank you.
Chuck just confirmed that Liji has reached home safely.
Yay. Thanks, Chuck, and good to see you, Lijay.
Yasmin is trying to understand if a stationary bike counts too.
Yes. 100%. I just
And
got one myself, so I got to count it. Okay.
And Subhadra said the droning sound better than it did a couple of weeks ago. She's confirming.
Oh, good. So, yeah, I can usually trust Havi, what he says. Okay, Sakala Subhag, would you like to say something verbally?
Yeah, I just want to welcome Preetika. She's joining for first time. We met Preetika a couple of weeks back in a retreat session. She enthusiastically took Srimad Bhagavatam books, and yeah, she was very much interested to read. She's joining for the first time. Yeah.
Thanks, Preetika. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Pritika. Welcome. Where are you dialing in from, Pritika?
I'm from Albany.
Albany. Okay. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me. Yeah.
Thank you. And Adam also shared big time blessing for Krishna to arrange being invited to this community. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Are you there watching the sunset?
Yes, I'm at the beach.
Which beach?
Harbor, Oregon. Brookings.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Is there any way you
really,
could?
it's a nice spot.
Is it possible to turn your camera to give us a little view? Wow.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Adam. Great to have you here.
Sure. It's a good spot.
And Nolani just shared, it seems that our human nature gives us an influx of empathy, which is why I can cry at a movie or even a commercial. But the key is not necessarily to rid oneself of the empathy, but rather not let it be all consuming. Thanks for another lovely Monday.
Yeah, it's a nice point. We're sentient beings, which means we have senses and we have sentiments. And those are the nature of life. It's feeling. And when we're feeling for the right reasons and we're connected to the Supreme Whole, the feeling is unlimitedly satisfying and intriguing. Just like everyone wants to feel. Many songs, poems are about love or love lost or many other such emotions. And so the idea of bhakti, actually, there's a parallel because this world is a reflection of the spiritual world. And all that we want to experience is there within the complete whole and all the variety that's there, because obviously the source of the reflection would have everything that's here. Only it's not temporary. It's ever expanding, which is a hard concept for me to understand when in my context is that everything is always in a state of diminishment. So it's unlimitedly encouraging also to have an object of our love that can fully reciprocate and which is always deepening. Oh, look, Apara Garung is here.
Yeah. Apara just said, thanks for sharing your experience of doing the Nitai mantra with your father. It's very, very helpful since my grandmother has dementia and it could help her.
I made a video of my father chanting Nitai Garung. I'll share it with you, then you can see my technique for engaging my father. Yeah, fantastic. We just came back from a spiritual festival in Los Angeles, and next year everybody on this Zoom should come. Well, we could all sit in a circle and do this, and maybe have some spiritual food and do a little dancing and chanting together. What do you think? If you'll consider it, just it's hard to resist. Anyway, Pargurangi.
Yasmin is saying, don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah.
And Adam is looking forward to the SF Rath Yatra and Janmashtami.
Lots of festivals. Well, thanks everybody. You know, it's always sad parting for me because it's such a joyful experience seeing everybody, and thank you very much. But there is one way to part and still feel that we left each other with something. I'm trying to follow the yogis up in the Himalayas who have this tradition of raising their arms in the air, kind of opens their heart to the other person, and they say this phrase, Hari Bol, which means keep the transcendental vibration going. In fact, somebody gave me a hat. I'm going to show it to you. Don't go away now. Oh, darn it. It's still packed. I didn't unpack yet from my trip. It says keep the transcendental vibration going. So let's try it. Haribo.
Haribo.
Thanks everybody.
Haribo.
See you soon. Thank you very much.